T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lug.
I'm J-Boy.
I'm T-Dog.
Yes, this is Sports and Other Stuff. We have a big show on this episode. NFC South preview. Hey, has anybody seen Aaron Rodgers? NFL COVID policy mandates. And Giannis delivers an NBA championship to Milwaukee. Lugs owes us some money on that. Texas and Oklahoma, they want into the SEC. And say hello to the Cleveland Guardians, plus a little sports of yesteryear. But first, let's talk about the NFC South. In 2020, it went like this. Saints, 12-4. Buccaneers, 11-5. I'd forgotten that's how that finished. Panthers, 5-11. And the Falcons bringing up the rear at 4-12. T-Dog, what about 2021? Let's start it up. Start the motor.
Start it up. First off, I just want to say, overarching wise, this is a interesting. I think this is an interesting division. Besides the Super Bowl champion team, you can make cases for some, I guess, like promising or just the other team just completely going in the and down the toilet very quickly because. There's a lot of ifs to say they're going to be good, and there's a lot of just kind of looking at it face value from last year to possibly present, not projecting future. You kind of look at the teams like they are probably going to be in a lot of trouble. But I guess I'll start with the team that I think is probably going to bottom out, start at the bottom, go to the top. Panthers, their strength. I had a problem with their trying to find their strength, so that's a concern. But I'd go with their defensive line. They have two extremely young building blocks in Brian Burns and Derek Brown. Brian Burns has averaged 8.5 sacks in his first 2 years, and Derek Brown was a rookie last year, but I think he's going to be a stud in time. And they acquired Hassan Reddick, who had a career year last year for the Arizona Cardinals, 12.5 sacks, but 5 of those sacks came against a bad Giants team. So, I mean, it's kind of overrated. And then I look at their weakness. I mean, I can't go anywhere else except for Sam Darnold at quarterback. He's averaged 15 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He's only averaged 12 games played in the 3 years he's been in the league and under 60%. Completion percentage and 6.6 yards per pass attempt. Look, I know the situation with the Jets are awful. I know it's easy to bag on Gase, but you can't completely separate all the elements around him because we've seen good quarterbacks elevate bad situations. I know Carson Wentz was awful last year, but he had a pretty bad situation the year before and played well. And, I know he's been at least up and down. Sam Darnold's been consistently just mediocre. That's why I have them going 5-12.
5-12.
I'm a little bit more positive for them. I was going to give them 6-11. I do think Christian McCaffrey back healthy. Darnold has not a great offensive line, but it's an improvement over the Jets. I think for the Jets for the past 2 years, he literally was running for his life. He had no time to pass. It was just crazy to see those games and watch him just it was no stopping anybody, that offensive line. So, yeah, I think they're the bottom, but I do think Darnold will surprise you and be much better than he was in New York, but they just don't have enough defensive stopping power or offensive power either to be competitive.
And I got to say, any team that has Adam Gase, I just got to say, it's those eyes, man. Those eyes. Wow.
I will. I don't know. We said it last year. I'm still buying stock in Matt Rule long term, and if they kind of crater out this year, I'll buy up other people's shares. I still believe. I just think might still be a long season this year. Another team I think might be a long season is Atlanta Falcons. I have their strength being I know some people kind of bag on him. Matt Ryan, he's 36 years old. He's still playing at a high level though. I mean, these last 3 years, he's averaged 29 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 4,600 yards passing for the last 3 years, 66% completion percentage. And I think the hire of Arthur Smith, he's been so pass happy these last few years. I think getting back to being balanced a little more with the run game, kind of open up his game back. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Shanahan, but like that's when Matt Ryan was at his best, when they were more balanced. So I think Arthur Smith will help him play better in the back part of his career. Their weakness is very easy to see. Their secondary, AJ Terrell was their first round pick, and he showed a lot of talent last year. But overall, they were dead last in yards allowed. They allowed 4,697 yards passing, and they were tied for 30th most passing touchdowns allowed, 34 TDs. So, I mean, that's why I have them going 7-10 and being, obviously, I think they could be better than that based on if they can get the defense to play a little bit better. Calvin Ridley is very talented. Obviously, I like Kyle Pitts at tight end, but I just feel like there's a lot of new parts, or there's not enough. I don't think their running back core, again, it's a bunch of solid names, not anyone like Lugs brought up Christian McCaffrey for Panthers. There's not like a star. So that's why I have them going 7-10.
I'm one game more optimistic than you. I am 8 and 9. That running back you're talking about, Mike Davis, he is not Derrick Henry, but I think Pitts gives them just enough juice in his position. And Smith, if he and Matt Ryan can just get some synergy going, they've got some I mean, obviously they lost Julio, but so it'll be interesting who steps in, and will they go with that 2 tight end set that Smith used before in Tennessee. So I got 8 and 9, and Matt Ryan is serviceable still. His arm is still in good shape. I just don't think he moves very well anymore. So that offensive line has to hold up for him, for them to get any traction at all.
And the simple fact is that the Falcons and Panthers, when you look at it, playing in conference, they've got 4 losses right there. They're not going to beat the Saints or the Bucs anyway, right? So that's an automatic 4 losses to each of those teams, I think.
I think Atlanta could split with the Saints, but yeah, I think the Panthers. I don't think have them beating the Saints or the Bucs this year. But speaking of the Saints, and kind of Lugs brought up, Matt Ryan's offensive line has been fairly mediocre to awful the last few years. That is not the case with the Saints. Saints O-line is their strength, with Armstead and McCoy at center and Ramczyk at the other tackle. Saints have consistently been one of the top offenses with their play. They were 12th in passing last year, 6th in running, 5th in scoring points per game, and 12th overall, with a twilight Drew Brees and Taysom Hill at quarterback. So, I mean, I don't know if Taysom will step up this year. I think there's potential for it to happen. I know I've been critical of Taysom Hill, but I still think he's got a lot of talent. Obviously, Sean Payton has coached up a lot of people, and Taysom Hill does have talent. I've never said that. And obviously Winston has a lot of talent. So I don't know who's going to get the starting job, but I think they can be good. The only problem is their weakness is wide receiver. Michael Thomas has been one of the better wide receivers in the league, but he had ankle surgery, and it could be out as far into the season as November or December. Their most accomplished wide receiver after him is Traquan Smith, who last year had 448 yards receiving and 4 receiving touchdowns. That was his best year. So they are in a world of hurt in terms of passing options. It's a bunch of Jags, just another guy, to be quite honest with you. So I have that being said, Sean Payton's a great coach. They have a lot of talent still on his team, not as much as last year. That's why I think they take a step back. but they're 10-7, and I think they just slide into the playoffs.
Wow, we agree on something here. I have them 10-7 as well. I think Taysom Hill it's going to be a run offense more than we've seen from them in a long, long time. You got Kamara, you got Latavius Murray with Taysom Hill back there. I think they're going to do some serious running because, let's face it, Jameis Winston has an arm. It's you're just never sure where that ball's going to go, man. I mean, he's got one of the highest rates of interceptions of any quarterback around. But by the same token, Taysom Hill fumbled 10 times last year. So they've got a lot of areas to shore up. But you're right, that offensive line, man, any team would want that group of guys playing. And they've lost so many guys too. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, Janoris Jenkins, Sheldon Rankins. I mean, they got to have some folks step up now. But like I say, I still have them at 10-7. They've got enough pieces to compete. And I do think you're right. They will make the playoffs.
So lots of run-pass option you're seeing. And T-Dog, question, do you think Hill's got the job to lose, or is he 1 and Jameis is 1A? What's happening there?
I think Lugs brought up a good point. I seriously, for most of the offseason, thought it was Jameis Winston. But with the situation with Michael Thomas and just looking at how raw the wide receivers are and their strength, one of their strengths besides their O-line is their running backs with Latavius Murray and particularly Alvin Kamara. They probably will be more run-oriented. They've always been balanced under Sean Payton, but they might be – just a few percentage more run to pass than they usually are, just based on the skills, the skill positions that they have right now. They just might have to be, to be quite honest with you. But one team that's obviously going to be our division winner, and I guess it's no surprise, or at least my pick for division winner is the Bucks. They have, because again, unlike going with they're the invert of the Panthers, where it was hard to really pick the strength because there's so many strengths. They have a good O-line. They have a great wide receiver core. They have solid running backs, maybe not like a star, but they have 3 really talented running backs. They have I know their corners are young, but they're all kind of flashing last year and showing high upside, I think. But I have to go with their linebackers. Their linebackers, I mean, on the exteriors, they have JPP and Shaq Barrett. On the interior, they have Devin White and Levante David. Those 4 accounted for 28 of Tampa's 48 sacks last year. And they just all have speed or power or a combination of both. And there's just there's no weak link. I can't even tell you who I guess Levante David, because he's maybe the oldest and maybe he's lost a step, but obviously he's kind of their leader. So I think that is their strength of the team. And like I said, the weakness that I'm going to say for them, obviously this guy played exceptional last year, and I know it's going to come off as me hating on him. I'm not hating on him. I think their weakness is Tom Brady for this reason, and only this reason. He's the greatest quarterback of his era. If you want to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time, I'm not going to really fight you on it. I just don't believe in best quarterback of all time because eras are different. He's won 7 Super Bowls, obviously. But, I mean, now he's fighting his biggest fight. He's fighting time. He will be 44 when the season starts. The only quarterback who started multiple games at the age of 44 was Vinny Testaverde in 2007 for the Carolina Panthers. He started 6 games. He went 2-4. He threw 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, threw for 952 yards passing, and completed just 55% of his passes. Now, obviously, Tom Brady is still playing at a high level. Obviously, Tom Brady is much better than Vinny Testaverde, not to completely kill Vinny Testaverde. But still, I'm just saying, the only other 2 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era that were on a roster or even played a few snaps at 44 or older, besides Vinny Testaverde, is Steve DeBerg and George Blanda.
I was going to say Blanda. Yes.
So, and